Time for Dan Barrero's Top 5 at 5. Brought to you by Gutter Helmet of Minnesota. Never clean your gutters again. Learn more at gutterhelmetmn.com.
Gaardsy, I've already gotten Luigi's attention. There's a story on the internet that several outlets have written it. This version is the New York Post, indicating that a pair of New York Knicks NBA Finals tickets have already sold for $279,000. $279,000. Your thoughts?
My thoughts. I just told someone, I said, can you imagine Dolan's got to be so happy? Pair of tickets, they're probably going for about $15,000 each. I said, and I said, that's a lot, because when I was running the North Stars, George Gunn, he'd tell all his friends, oh, come on, you got to come watch us play games. So I'd get in New York, and these guys would call my room. He'd say, call Lou Nanne. So they'd call me, and he said, Lou, yeah, George Gunn's friend. I said, Peter Bell. Yeah, what can I do for you? He says, well, we need 6 tickets for tonight's game. I said, what do you mean you need 6 tickets for tonight's game? Well, George Gunn says to call you to get tickets. I said, oh, well, I can help you out because we get the right to buy tickets. So how much do you want to spend? All of a sudden what are the prices? Well, the lowest price is $50 each. We'll take 2. Can you imagine Dolan sitting there when selling tickets? All right, I'm sick.
There are some people are doing the comparisons too that there's 4 tickets for sale right now that you could either buy those or a 4-bedroom house in Oklahoma City. There's like 1.1 million or something, and they show the house. They show like the Zillow listing.
Nice house.
There's going to be a lot of those.
Yeah,
there's going to be a lot of those.
Yeah, well, it's New York, man. Yeah.
I was just going to say, some of those people must be saying, okay, you can have my houses on 116th and Belmont.
That's it. Yeah.
Take the deed, I'll take the tickets.
Exactly right. Welcome back in. 2 straight weeks, maybe 3. You say it's possible for next week.
Well, I always like to come back and sit at the patio at Tavern 23. I think it's got to be the best patio.
I haven't been there in a while.
In the West
Centennial Lakes, right off the right back there.
And now the weather's starting to cooperate.
Yeah, nice. Have a beer back there and have some pizza or whatever you want.
Yeah,
just
for sure.
Good day.
Kemp's, by the way, Tavern 23 sponsors this event, of course, this bit, and also does Kemp's, longtime sponsor of the Luigi segments. Top 5 now. What do you got, Gaardsy?
Well, let's stay with the NBA, because I know we're going to talk a lot of hockey with Luigi as well. You've already mentioned, we've talked a lot that the Knicks are on the way to the finals. The first time since 1999, they ran the Cavs out of their own building last night. Tickets weren't as expensive there. And a lot of Cleveland fans wanted to sell them to Knicks fans, so they made some money. Hopefully the Cav fans got their season ticket deposits back. But so that part of it is set. Tonight, the Western Conference Finals continue in Oklahoma City, where they don't allow you to buy tickets if you're not in like a 5-state area surrounding Oklahoma City. So that will be interesting for the finals, how that works out, because they're going to have to make some friends. You're going to have to do some back channeling to get into the building. But it's the Spurs and Thunder pivotal Game 5 in Oklahoma City, with the series tied at 2 tonight, 7:30 on NBC and Peacock.
All right, Luigi, let's get into the philosophy of this. As a guy who used to run a team. So this came up in Cleveland. At least 10 other Knicks fans, and when I say other, that includes Fat Joe. Do you know about Fat Joe? Fat Joe is a big-time, long-time, apparently Knicks fan, and a entertainer. Is that as well, correct?
Yeah, musician.
Yep. And he basically went on one of the ESPN shows before Game 4 saying the Cavaliers, he had purchased courtside seats for the Cleveland game, or won, and they took it away from him, he said, because they didn't want anybody courtside cheering for the Knicks. After that story broke, the New York Post ran another story in which they wrote that at least 10 other Knicks fans with courtside tickets were informed by a Cavaliers executive that they no longer have seats, a league source told the Post. So what's your philosophy on this? I don't like the look of it. I know what you're trying to do. And you run a team, you want your fan. But I don't think this is a good look.
I think it's a terrible look. If those tickets were available, they were available all year long. So whoever bought them, that's their seats. And they should be able to sell them how they want. I don't understand why you would do that. And I'm not a lawyer, but I would think that there got to be some legal thing that you could go against them.
I agree.
If you got the right to have a team, a professional sports team, and then you start limiting how you sell the tickets. Now, I don't know if they got the same, and I would think they have the same leeway that they got on a lot of stuff like the NFL football does.
Right.
And if they do, then they'd be jeopardizing that. I'm just surprised that they would do that kind of thing.
Well, it's a relatively new phenomenon because of digital ticketing, right?
That's true.
It used to be hard to be a visiting fan. You'd have to call Lou Nanne's room, say, I need 6 tickets, right? Because you couldn't just go online and see what was available, or you'd have to go to a scalper and you'd have to, negotiate and say, I want. Now you can just go online and have a ticket in 5 minutes. So these teams are having to navigate this.
And I don't know, you mentioned OKC, they've gotten away with it forever. So
yes.
how have they gotten away with it? Either they got different laws in Oklahoma that circumvent.
I'm not sure.
I don't understand it. What I heard, one of the stories out of Cleveland was that the owner, regarding at least some courtside seats, they basically had the owners of those seats signed something that said, if I sell my seat, you have a right to ban me permanently from the building. And I don't even get that kind of nonsense.
That's ridiculous.
And it looks even worse than your team loses by 37. It's like, worry about the things you can control. Don't get hung up on who's going to be in the arena and who's going to root for who. To me, it's such a waste of time.
Well, to me, it's just really a management error because if that team happened to be a team that's out of the playoffs or something,
right,
like that happens in all sports, all of a sudden you're going to be struggling to sell tickets. Then,
great point. For those seats,
are you going to keep the same kind? You're right. You're going to keep the same kind of restrictions that you have. Then I don't think so.
You could do a whole show on ticketing.
You could easily
because there's
maybe
a million.
Sometime.
There's a million things now. Even because now people get in trouble. I'm trying to think who. I think it was the Packers. They kicked out a bunch of season ticket holders that basically had tickets forever but sold every game. And
so they just got rid of them.
They said, you've done this for 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years, whatever it was. You're clearly just a ticket broker. Because they're trying to protect against that.
Right. Yeah.
And they just say, you're out. You're out. You haven't gone to a game.
Well, I can tell you firsthand, what do you think happened to Las Vegas Knights when they first got the franchise? I know people that bought tickets there that never saw a hockey game, never went to a game.
Exactly right.
Still have the tickets.
Yeah.
They're easy to sell.
But what do you think of that? Is it impure?
No, if they want to buy tickets and sell them, that's a prerogative. And if they can't sell the tickets, then that's what happens. But
they're stuck
when you buy tickets, they're your tickets. If I want to give them to the guys sitting on the street corner, I'm not going to give them money. I'm going to give them tickets. Here, you sell them or you go to the game. I just don't understand why you would do that.
The Twins had a 4-game winning streak snapped yesterday. They swept the Red Sox over the weekend at Fenway, went to Chicago, lost 3-1. Murakami with a dong, as they write. The Sox cooled off the Twins. Anthony Kay, we couldn't get to him. We are back at it today in Chicago. First pitch about an hour and a half from now. Let me give you the starters. Joe Ryan on the mound opposing Sean Burke. The Twins begin tonight.
We're in the wild card. Right now, we would have the last wild card spot. We would, as of today, qualify for the postseason. How about that? We
are 5 games behind Cleveland for first place in the American League Central Division. The Chicago White Sox are a game and a half ahead of us. They have the second wild card spot, and the Yankees are free and clear of everybody in terms of the wild card. You are right. We're a half game ahead of the Mariners.
The White Sox, I think, have beaten us like 5 or 6 times in a row going back to last year. Remember when they were our punching bags forever?
Everybody's punching bag.
Pretty much true. So now they're at least we got to check in with Bozich pretty soon. He's got to be
maybe tomorrow.
7th heaven on his favorite baseball team being did you say they're above 500?
Yeah.
I think they're like 1 or 2 over, aren't they?
They are 27 and 26.
27-26.
Second place in the American League Central.
Fair enough.
The decade-long rebuilding plan is finally paying off for them.
A lot better than the Tigers, unfortunately.
Yeah.
My poor Detroit
Tigers. What's happened to them?
Oh, I can't believe it.
Yeah, they weren't supposed to be.
No, they were supposed to be really a contender.
Baseball's a funny game, Louis, from year to year.
Yeah, it
changes.
Yeah.
Good time to straddle, hit a break time.
Okay.
We've got Colorado and Vegas tonight, which we will talk about with Luigi. That game can be heard following us right here on The Fan.
All right, we'll do that. And if you have questions for Luigi, keep them coming as well. 646-86, Bradshaw and Bryant, KFAN text line.
You're listening to Barrero on The Fan.
From the 1-800-ASK-GARY Traffic Center.
This report is sponsored.
Well, she sneaks around the world from India to Carolina. She's a sticky-fingered filcher from Berlin down to Belize. Take you for a ride on a slow boat to China. Tell me, where in the world is
Lou Nanne?
He is indeed in studio with us, as he was for the Top 5 at 5. Louis, I want to read you a newspaper article from 1966. In fact, it was 60 years ago over the weekend on this date. The NHL club based in Minnesota officially named the North Stars. And the backstory, I wondered if you knew anything about it. I'll just read it to you. Apparently, they had a contest.
I remember.
The team had a contest. There were 1,536 entries, and the winners were Mr. and Mrs. William R. Swanson of Shoreview. They got a $100 savings bond and 2 season tickets for the 67-68 season for coming up with the name North Stars. You know them?
No, I don't. I do remember that happening.
That story?
Yeah, I remember the story. I remember it real well because I thought, where'd they come with this name, the North Stars? I didn't like it at first. And
really?
It became, to me,
I love it.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And I just never heard the North Star for anything. And I thought, why would they say that? I didn't realize the connection and all that.
That made it, it does make it unique.
Oh, my
right?
God.
It's a tremendous nickname.
It's tremendous.
Yeah.
And, well, you said, 67, right? 60, it was 67.
Yeah, they announced it in 66.
Almost 6 years, that $100 bond. We
were asking about that, but I guess it doesn't
you double
accrue
it every
much.
7 years with the interest. That make it...
I was told it wasn't that much.
I'd say about 14,000.
They said no, didn't they? They said because it didn't keep accruing. Who knows? You would know better. You're the investor. You're the investment guy.
I guarantee it was closer to... What did they say? What did AI say?
They had a max of like $600.
$600?
No, but for how many years?
They said it taps out between 30 and 40.
Yeah, it taps out, apparently. And there's
30 and 40. Well, we're talking 60.
Yeah, well, but I don't think you can... It doesn't keep accruing.
because it keeps doubling every 7. If you were to put money in, essentially...
right.
If you want to figure real quickly, if you put $5,000 in and say for 7 years and you had the interest rates, you usually get around 10. So you keep doubling 7.
Yeah.
You got 60 years, that's almost 8.5. So you got, you're about 14.
All right, if you say so. So you don't, I'm disappointed. I thought you'd know the Swansons.
No, I hadn't.
I hope they're still around. If not, I hope their kids are around. I'd love to hear from them.
I just love that master finance class we got from Louis, and you and I are both just staring into the sun.
I don't even begin to understand it.
We need RBC Wealth Management.
That's part of my problem. That's true. Louis, let's look ahead a little bit I'm going to give Louis $500 on the way out. Just go do whatever you want with it. Just tell, I'm going to call you in 10 years. Let me know where it's at. He'd take care of it. I'm sure he will. No, that's not enough.
No, he'd give it to somebody on like floor 2, not where his office is. He'd pass it to an intern in the elevator and say, take care of this guy.
Of the 2 Eastern Conference finalists left, I'm projecting, of course. I'm trying to figure out which team poses a greater challenge to Colorado for the Stanley Cup Finals.
Colorado's done.
What do you mean?
They're like yesterday's toast.
Wait a minute, you told me they're unbeatable.
Yeah, and I didn't know McCarr was going to be out the first 2 games.
He's
and then
back for the 3rd game.
Yeah, and McKinnon's out. You don't lose those kind of guys and think you're going to win.
You told me that they couldn't be stopped.
No, I said to you, if we had Eriksson Ek and Brodin, we would have beat Colorado.
Yeah, well.
And you don't lose those 2 guys out. Well, the same thing, only they're even better players when you got McCarr. And by the way, McCarr is playing maybe 70%.
Yeah.
You notice he doesn't make contact or anything.
Right.
Can't touch that shoulder. And McKinnon was over the middle of the second. They're done.
That series is over?
They're done.
Will it be over tonight?
I think
Game 4 tonight, I think, right?
Yeah, I think it's going to be over tonight. Unless McKinnon makes a miraculous recovery. What I don't understand, it drives me nuts. I've said this on the radio here before. These guys are such great hockey players, athletes, do everything, but they don't know how to block shots. That's what kills me.
Yeah,
you don't know how to block shots. You don't go sideways and turn around and get it beside your knee. You should be facing the shooter, knee straight down. If the puck comes right at you, it's not going to hit you in a vulnerable position except your face if you fell too early. And now they even got shields. But I just don't understand why they don't teach these people how to block shots. Then you wouldn't have as many injuries as we get.
Well, so that series is done as far as you're concerned.
Yeah.
What about the East?
I thought it was going to be a year of the divine because Montreal was winning with one shot a period and 9 shots in the 7th game against Tampa Bay, and they get in overtime. They go to the first game against Carolina, and they win it, you know, and it looked to me like Montreal is going to continue to do this because that last game, here they were sitting at 11 shots going into overtime, and there was 2-2.
Right.
And in overtime, I thought for sure this is their divine time because their leading scorer gets a breakaway and misses the net. And then Carolina comes back and scores. Now, Carolina's played 5 overtime games in the series so far, like the Stanley Cup playoff series.
Throughout.
They've won all 5 3-2.
Oof.
So that sort of tells you maybe it's Carolina's time. Carolina's very quick. Montreal's very quick. Vegas is not a quick team. They're going to have to beat them with physicality, which Vegas is doing very well against Colorado, but also smarts because they are a smart team. But they're not nearly as quick as either Carolina or Montreal.
Is Vegas surprised you that they're in the position they're in?
They're surprised me in their position they're in against Colorado. I had thought that they would be the ones coming out of that conference.
Okay.
Yeah. Because Edmonton just had a disastrous year, and there was really nobody to contend against Vegas. Vegas is, I think, a deeper team than the other ones outside of Edmonton. So I'm not surprised by that. But had Colorado been healthy, I think Vegas would not be advancing. But with the injuries that Colorado has, I don't see how they can come out of it.
Questions for Luigi, 64686. Example, do you think getting Torts as our coach would have pushed us further, like I've been hoping the Wild would do the last 2 years?
No, I really think John Hines did a great job. I can't fault Hines for what happens. I know it falls back on the coach a lot of times, but he brought them along all year long. I think they were very well coached in how they played, the style of game they played, how consistent they were with that. I just think that they just weren't deep enough when the injuries hit going against Colorado.
There's a bunch coming in here. One of them, I think we've talked about this a little bit before, but it's worth revisiting. So we've all determined that to get the top 5 center, whoever that is not easy to do, right?
Right.
So do you go to a little bit more conservative plan B in which Garen and I talked about this. He actually brought it up. The idea that you bring, he acknowledged that Eriksson Ek is not viewed as a number 1 center. But what if you get, as he put it, another player of his caliber? Does that kind of center exist? And does it also mean a less prohibitive price to get that player? I don't even know who would fit that. But
yeah, I definitely think it's a less prohibitive price, but I also think that would be great to what an addition to this hockey.
Is that
club.
enough?
I think it would be enough because I thought what they had this year was enough. I think even without the number 1, had they been healthy, I really see them going to the finals this year, and they've had good success against Carolina, and I think Carolina's good advance. I think they would have had a real good chance this year. And so now you're saying you're adding another real good piece to that. Now the key is he's got to keep some of the key additions he made, like McCarron.
Right.
And he's got to, which I think he'll have an easier time signing the guys that he wants that are unrestricted free agents that were already Wild players. But now they have to make up their mind. Do they want to bring Nick Foligno back? Do they bring McCarron back? They have to determine what they want. And I see this team having another good year, especially if they are able to keep the guys they want of their free agent group. And because I do see them adding somebody. I don't know who's going to be available, but I'm not focusing on the center as much as a great player. It doesn't matter if he's a wingman. You give me a wingman, that's something else. That's a big addition. Or who knows what kind of defenseman you might add. You're not going to add a McCarr, but you might add a very high-level defenseman like Montreal's done with Dobson, who's played very well in Montreal, and Matheson, who's played very well. They give you, another level, especially they're younger right now, and Matheson just flies the Canadians, and he's moved around 3 times, but he seems to have found a home there.
612 guy wants to know if Austin Matthews' trade value is diminished because of his injury, and would that make it easier for the Wild to acquire him?
Austin Matthews, in my estimation, is not going anywhere, and he has an extremely high trade value. They're under so much pressure to play in Toronto and make moves in Toronto to start with, and then you add the best player in the team by a country mile. You see, people always just focus on Matthews scoring because he did get 69 goals one year, I think it was, and one away from 70. He should have had that. I watched that last game, too. But he's also a great defensive player. He proved that in the Olympics. He was one of our top 200-feet players. That's why he was always there in the key positions. And Toronto is not going to give that guy away. He may be able, I think it might be another, I think he's got 3-4 years left. I don't see him trying to force a trade because how do you force a trade? If I'm the general manager, I say sit, and I've done it.
Yeah,
so, you got to come to the point. You want to make your $12 million a year that you're making right now, or do you want to sit? Because I'm not trading. We signed a contract in good faith. Now, if something comes along...
I wish what the Vikings would have done with... Who's a defensive player? Grenard. That's what I wish the Vikings would have done with Grenard.
I couldn't believe... See, I don't... You know what's funny? Because last week I saw somewhere on Instagram Louis Lamoriello being interviewed. And Louis and I never talked. Mm-hmm. We are very good friends. But they said to Louis... Now, they were talking about Matthews. And he handled it the way I did. And if you don't sit, he says, they go. He says, I've never had a player to come to me and say, I want out of here, that I kept, and neither did I. But if I never had the strength of $12 million behind me to say sit. I had it when Cicerelli, they tried that, and they said, well, you're just going to sit. I said, well, you could tell him to go down to the seashore and sit in his butt and howl at the moon, because when he's done howling, maybe then he'll realize he's got to come back because he's not getting paid. So that's what you
I don't disagree with that.
I mean, it always bothered me that guys would come in after signing a good contract for 3-4 years, and they walk in and they say, we want to renegotiate. I said, how about the year before last when you had a brutal year? Where were you? I was trying to find you, but you didn't want to renegotiate. Why does that always work one way? I mean, you're paid as a general manager to make decisions on behalf of the ownership and the best of the team. And you have to be fair, but you have to be strong. And you have to just have what everybody knows is a clear picture of how you handle things.
That's right.
And once you do that, you just stick with it and you make your decision.
A 507 guy wants to know how good you think Urhoff is going to be. Could we re-sign McCarron and have a bunch of number 2 centers with Eriksson Ek, Urhoff, Hartman, McCarron, and Strammel?
Well, I like Urhoff. I would not be giving up a guy who's 21 years old, 22 years old, that has scored 12 goals and showed that he's physical, he's competitive, he's got a lot of things. There's been a lot of good hockey players in this league that started off, I don't want to say quietly, but I'll say moderately. And then they really ascended to much, even greatness, but much better. So I wouldn't be thinking of trading him unless, as we're talking, you're getting a high-level guy back. And so I don't put him in the case of McCarron, who's a different style player, and he's 10 years older, or Hartman, almost the same thing. They would be dealing McCarron or Hartman before they'd be dealing Urhoff, I believe, because you got 10 years to grow into that other position, and he's shown that offensively he certainly seems to have more offensive skill than McCarron. He's not as physical or strong or as good checking. They all have different roles, so I think that you look to do different things than that.
We were talking North Stars a little bit earlier. This texter, 651 guy, is hoping that we would at one point dedicate one of your appearances to the early years of the North Stars, starting with Minnesota securing a franchise ownership group and the front office personnel like general manager Ren Blair, the high first-round picks that failed or picks that were traded and failed, The North Stars' first-round pick in 67-68 never played in the NHL. The 69 first-round pick was traded for two players, one who never played, and the other player played 18 games in one full season. Then mentioned Redmond went on to a very nice career. Lou might be the only eyewitness who could share some of this history. What do you bring back some memories?
I want to give him some memories that maybe his worst history when he hears this. And back in those earlier years, people will remember that we traded Gilles Gilbert for Freddie Stanfield. Boston at that time had the 5th pick in the first round. And I only know this, and I never confronted Ren with this, because Ren and Harry Sinnen were buddies before that. Because Blair hired Sinden to coach the Minneapolis Bruins here at that time.
Okay.
Now, Sinden is general manager of Boston, and Blair is general manager of the North Stars. I'm playing for the North Stars. And I didn't find this out till later, because Harry's a very close friend of mine, and he didn't tell me later. The night before the draft, they were up late, and Ren liked to chug him back a bit, but it was alcohol, not beer. And they made a deal, and the deal was Gilbert for Stanfield in the first-round pick. So they come the next morning to number 5. And Boston's pick. Boston has made a deal with Minnesota North Stars. And they agreed and asked Blair what the deal was. Stanfield for Gilbert. He forgot the first-round pick. We didn't take the first-round pick.
What?
Yeah, because he forgot. And Harry swore to me, he said, Louis, I'm telling you, so help me God, I almost fell off my chair. He says he forgot the first-round pick.
He forgot the pick.
Forgot the first-round 5th overall pick. I think it was 5th overall. I think Boston then might have picked John Davidson at that time. I can't recall going all the way back. So you don't want to talk about that.
Now he's really depressed.
No, I was depressed. How do you think I felt? I love Freddie. He was a great teammate.
How do you forget that?
By being drunk.
Being
drunk.
That's being too drunk.
Oh, yeah.
That's being way too...
Yeah.
So how long after the fact did you find that out?
After, when I became general manager.
Oh, my goodness.
And Harry and I were out playing golf, and we were talking about
He laid that on you?
Yeah. He says, you're not going to
knocked you over with a feather with that one.
I did. Yeah, I did.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, because...
Forgot the pick.
Yeah. I mean, Freddie played well enough. We had to really... everybody thought it was a reasonable deal and all that, but we were getting the first round. When picks at that time weren't considered, people didn't realize maybe how much value they had or something. Right. So, I don't know, but Ren just went blank.
Was drafting... Is he right that the first-round picks in 67, 68 never played?
Oh, I mean, I'm telling you, he did another one that, and I forget who the player was, and this I knew because it was part of it, and it was written up. They can look it up. We were having an expansion-type draft, or a draft where Montreal got to protect so many players. I forget why we had a choice. And I forget who Pollock stuck us with, and Ren let them keep Peter Mahovlich. Oh, my God. We could have had Peter Mahovlich, too.
Could have had Pete Mahovlich?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of... there was a deal that... when the draft was always held in Montreal, Queen Elizabeth all the time, and they always said, watch out for Sammy Pollock, because if he's trying to make one of these deals, he usually takes you for a walk around Queen Elizabeth Hotel. And I guess he took Blair for a walk around the hotel, and he got to keep Peter Mahovlich. That's how, he did the same thing to, I forget who was Oakland's general manager, and that's how he got Guy Lafleur, by giving them Carol Vadnais and somebody else.
Guy Lafleur that way?
And he got to get the first pick, which was Guy Lafleur. Because for many years, until the draft really took place, the draft didn't start taking place till like mid-60s. By then, it was just all protected guys. Do you know that Montreal had the rights to any 2 French Canadians in Canada? So they got the top 2 French Canadians ready. Automatically, just whoever they want. You're in Winnipeg and you're in New Brunswick. You're great French. You belong to Montreal.
That's a good gig.
And that's why when the first expansion draft came out, there were 16s in the NHL, but they had reserves lists where they could keep 50 guys on the reserve list. And Montreal had built, like everybody kept 50, but Montreal had a lot of good 50 guys on that list because they got to keep all these guys. And when the expansion draft came, then that got reduced to 30. That's how I became a free agent, because I was owned by Chicago from when I was 13. And I had to come to the United States because they wouldn't let me play in Canada unless I played in St. Catharines. I wouldn't go there. So they had to go down to 30, and that's when a lot of these players got dispersed.
In general, was the drafting a lot less scientific then, or was there a lot less thorough?
Oh, yeah. Not only less scientific. I mean, it was so funny. Punch Hemlock once, it was going to be there was a draft when the WHA was in vogue in the leagues. You know, they had their league and the NHL had theirs. And so the NHL didn't want their guys publicized who they drafted. They didn't want it out there, and the word would get out, because they didn't want WHA guys to know who drafted them. Well, maybe we'll draft them because they won't be.
Yes.
And Punch Hemlock drafted, I think in the 5th round, like Toshima Tohima or something from Japan. And he didn't exist. He didn't exist. And it came out during the year, because now the WHA is trying to run around trying to find out where Toshima Tohima or whatever his Japanese name was. And he used the 5th round pick on him. Can you imagine that?
That's unbelievable.
Like when I first started, the first draft that I was part of as general manager, it was 12 rounds. And that's a lot of rounds.
A lot of rounds.
And what would happen after the 6th round, I think, was we'd pay $1,000 a round. Well, I wasn't going to leave. I didn't know what was going on. My first draft.
Right, sure.
And Emile Francis just sat there and kept rattling off names for $1,000 a name. Everybody else, they're 7th, 8th, 9th. See you guys, see you back at the bar, and they're all leaving. Just leaving. It's a lot different than it used to be.
That's very different. That's not. Did you ever tell? So who was the Guns owned it then?
Yeah.
So did you ever tell them this story about not getting the number 1 pick?
No, because they weren't owning the team at that time.
They weren't. Okay,
that was Bush.
So who was that?
Well, that was really the Ord McNeely's.
Oh, you're right. That's early.
Yeah, and all those guys.
Did you ever tell them that?
No, I didn't know.
You didn't know until later.
Until after the Guns had taken over, years after.
That's stunning.
Yeah. Oh, I mean. Yeah, now I'm starting to think I want to go back and look at the list who was available.
I bet you, that would make it even more frightening.
Yeah,
would it not? That's for sure. 64686 Bradshaw and Bryan KFAN text line. Louis, what do the Wild do at defense next year? I can envision a scenario where the Wild actually have 3 new defensemen in their top 6 versus last year. That's Jake and Maple Grove. Do you agree with him?
Yeah, it's possible. It's very possible, because they're going to take a look at see what they have coming back, what they have in the farm team, and then who's available and who's got any trade value. Like I see Damon Hunt moving in the lineup.
Yeah,
because he's got some speed and he's younger. And then after that, it all depends what they want to do. You have to take a look at who you got. How long you project them to being with you? Do they have any value in the trade market to get me something? And then they decide how they're going to deal. But it's very possible one of the defensemen could go in a trade for the type of forward that you're talking about, along with some of the other forwards or prospects or draft choices.
In terms of forwards, is there any real, I guess, accurate way to project Stramel at this point?
I don't think I haven't seen him except in college a couple times, and I haven't seen him the last 2 years, so I can't say. But I have to tell you, all the reports that I've seen or read about, he's really, really played extremely well, and he's looked like he's put himself in to contend to be a definite National Hockey League player in the center ice position. Right now, what I read, he's like a third-line center on the team. He's big and and he's young, and he's got some skills, and he's been getting better all along. He played with that Isaac Howard, who I thought was a very good player. He ended up going to Edmonton. In fact, he's playing the World Championships right now. I saw he just scored a goal, but playing with him seemed to really improve his offensive game, and even after Howard left for pro, he's continued to improve, and I think that the Wild are very happy with the way he's coming along.
We got a lot more very good texts coming in. Let's go ahead and get a break in right now. We've got one more segment with Luigi till the top of the hour. So keep them coming. Keep your questions and observations coming. We'll get into some other stuff, maybe off the beaten track with Luigi as well when we return.
Bumper to Bumper with Dan Burr.
Talking about the art of shot blocking in hockey. Here's a texture. This came in a bit earlier. I don't know if he was listening to that segment or not. I'd love to hear Louie's thoughts on superstars / game changers blocking shots. I feel like sometimes it's not worth losing a superstar over blocking a shot and let your goalie do the job. No better example than Brodin or McKinnon. That goes back to your belief that you shouldn't have to lose star players if you master how to do it. Is that correct?
Exactly. And McKinnon was in the perfect position to properly block that shot. And all he had to do, instead of being sideways, square on, face down, you go down on your knee and your other foot is straight up.
Yeah,
and you're down on one knee. And so he would have taken that right on his hockey pads and not on the side of the leg where he did.
So is it fear? Or just not knowing?
It's definitely fear in my mind. It's not knowing, and because you don't know, you're afraid of, is that shot going to go up my face? But if you get comfortable learning to block a shot, and it's all timing, and if you do a wrong time, then you get like Eddie Van Em's Barry Ashby in Philly. I remember one night he took it right in the jaw. You got to know when to fall. Like I said, I blocked Bobby Hull's shot a number of times, but after the curve stick came in, and I fell to block a shot, and the thing went up like an elevator shaft, got me right to the top of my shoulder pad. Next thing was my larynx. I'd been dead. That was the last shot I fell to. I blocked Bobby Hull, because with the curve at that time, it'd go up like an elevator shaft. You didn't know they were 2.5-inch curves before they started eliminating the curve, so you couldn't tell. When that came in, that threw a little different wrinkle into it. But it's something that is, and the best part about it, if you do it that way and block a shot, like where McKinnon was, if he does it that way and blocks it properly, that puck usually goes straight back up ice. And with his speed and the jump on the puck, he would have had a breakaway. That's the little difference in blocking it properly or not blocking it properly.
Expansion rules, we've talked about them before, but 612 guy is noting that, of course, you got what Vegas was dealt versus Seattle and even the Wild and Columbus. It's insane they're going to be in the finals for the third time in less than a decade. Refresh my memory on why the league decided to give Vegas such inviting expansion
because of the price. Because of the price.
Okay.
They took that enormous jump up in the expansion fee. And so if we're going to charge them that much, we got to make them more competitive. But what people have to realize, this is the first time they think they went down to 12 protected players rather than 16 or 18. It probably was 16 before that. But when you go down to 12, now one thing everybody does, we all overvalue our own players. We all think they're better than other people think they are. And so when you start putting down a protected list and you got to name 12, and then you start getting to your 13th and 14th, or, there's marginal difference between them and you're worried about them. What the Wild did, for instance, they got a deal with Vegas that they would leave Tuck and Holla available to protect Dumba.
Yep.
Well, you do this around the league. It was a 20, whatever they were at that time, how many teams in the league. So Vegas was making all these deals before the draft, ending up with high draft choices, second-round picks, or great players. So they got a huge jump. And conversely, what happened after that, everybody got smart. By the time they got to Seattle, Seattle didn't have the same thing happening, because by then, guys got to the situation where, we're not overpaying to protect the players we got. We'll lose the one rather than giving up two or high draft choices and or plus. So they made a big change in the way they managed the teams. The teams had to give players up.
To an extent, you got to give Vegas credit for their imagination and creativity.
Definitely. George McPhee did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
the assets that he gained through that draft.
That's all coming back to me now. I know we definitely talked about it at the time. Don't hear a lot about load management in hockey, but 651 guy says, given age and injury history of Eriksson Ek, Brodin, Spurgeon, and others, would Louis practice some form of load management on them during the season? You really don't need to get a certain seed in the playoffs. You just need to be in the tournament. Is there any logic to that?
Well, all I'd have to say is just take a look at the standings at the end of the season, how close they were. You're talking 2, 3, 4, 5 points, and you don't know if that's going to be you. Are you going to take a chance of making the playoffs because of load management first?
Yeah.
Secondly, I have to tell you, the mentality of the hockey player is different. They don't want to sit out. I never, ever heard a hockey player say to me, I wish I had a night off and said I'm going to play tonight. They'll play. It's almost like they're afraid not to play. I know in our day we were afraid not to play because if somebody come and take your job, you know, the old Lou Gehrig story, and hockey players just seem to want to play. Now, can the management take a look and say, okay, well, you're marginal for tonight, or you're a little banged up, you're sitting out? Yeah, when you get late in the season, I could see more teams now starting to say, well, I know we're in. We don't know where we're in, but we're going to be in. And then somebody's in a situation where you have to play hurt, and then they might say, take a day, we're sitting you out for a day or two, saying you're injured.
This is from, let's get the area code here. This is a 619, Gaardsy. I don't know where 619 is. Maybe you can look that up. He looked up the 73 amateur draft. John Davidson was taken by St. Louis with the 5th pick. Bruins pick that apparently should have been belonging to North Stars was number 6. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
San Diego.
Right there.
San Diego. Okay, good. Another hockey hot. Another place you might grow the game.
Yeah, right.
San Diego.
I like the temperature there, yeah.
Yeah, it's not bad. So maybe it was a 6th pick.
It
Whatever.
was 6, yeah. Who'd they pick, by the way?
Who did? He doesn't say there. Check the 1973 NHL amateur draft to find out if you have a minute, Gaardsy. We were talking about Ren. Was he a big believer in late practices too?
Not for him. Ren didn't make practice. He'd stay up late, and he had a tough time getting up early in the morning. So Mariucci, in those days, you have to remember, we had a coach. He was both general manager and coach, but usually you just had a coach, you had a trainer, and you had an equipment guy.
Simple times.
So Mariucci, who was working as an assistant to Blair, used to always have to run practice because Blair couldn't make practice at 10 o'clock in the morning. So
he wouldn't be there for practice.
No,
the head coach.
The head coach. He didn't make practice very often. And now we had a bad weekend, and we're on the plane coming home, and he's on Sunday night after the game. I think we played in Chicago, so we came in late, and then he said, practice 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. And then, of course, he told John, you got practice. And so we were all upset because we were tired. We had just played a doubleheader on the weekend. We didn't win, and we had to go on the ice at 10 o'clock. There was no off days. There were no optional days. In those days, you play every day. So we come down to the ice, and Mariucci says, everybody sit on the bench. So everybody sat on the bench. And Mariucci started telling stories, and every 2 seconds, or 5, 10 seconds, he'd blow the whistle. And he kept, this is going on, for 5, 10 minutes. And finally, one of the guys said, John, what are you doing with that whistle? He said, you never know when Blair's going to walk in. We got to pretend like we're practicing.
Just in case he shows up.
That was for an hour. We sat there for an hour, blowing the whistle, telling stories. We never got on the ice because John knew we needed rest more than we needed practice.
Where were the reporters back then?
I never saw a reporter to practice.
Seriously?
Never. Yeah. No. I don't know if they even knew where our locker room was. I don't recall ever at a practice, once the league started, that there was a reported practice. There were at the games. I never saw him at a practice.
How early do you remember Sid being a factor?
Sid was a factor,
but more university stuff. Is that what you associate?
He's with the university first, and then when I started playing, I knew he'd come in. He said he'd usually come in second period. I knew when first year when I was playing with the Olympic team, I wasn't playing because I'm playing with the Olympic team. Right. And I'm also doing the pregame, the postgame show on TV. Nobody else has been a season ticket holder for this postgame show. So I never saw him around during the game. And And a lot of times that's why we'd fool him, because he wouldn't get to the game till the second and third period. Now he had to write a story, but he wouldn't know who scored or anything like that. So he'd come down.
Ask you guys.
He'd snap on it.
Tap on the glass?
No, we're on the tape recorder.
Oh, you're saying, okay.
I'm sitting right beside Tommy Reed. He
Gotcha,
come in,
okay.
and he sat, move over, Reed, move over. He moved over and turns the tape recorder on, and he asked me a question. Well, you know how he'd operate. He'd look around, who else can I talk to? And so he says, you scored tonight, tell us about it. So
that is not even paying attention.
I said, I didn't score. Yeah, you scored. No, I didn't score. You didn't. He snapped it off and left. I did score, but I didn't tell him because I knew he wasn't there.
He didn't know.
No, he didn't know till after. The next day he got mad at me because he said, you said you didn't score and you scored.
Oh, that's too good. Oh, my God.
Was I looking up the 1968 draft?
73.
73?
Yeah.
All right, hang on. I gotta go. First of all, I'm learning what we're learning in this appearance is 1965 to 1975. Nothing was real in the NHL. That's what we're learning.
That is what we're learning.
The draft
You're right.
was at this really nice hotel in Montreal, which I was looking at.
That's very good.
Yeah, 1973. Yeah. All right, I'll pull that up here.
73. Yeah, it's the.
I used to do in those days when I became general manager. Now I was always afraid something was going to happen in our division without me knowing. So I'd stay up almost all night. And like when I tried to get home the first time, Keith Allen, I was bugging him all day long. He wouldn't let me, talk anymore about deals. He wouldn't take anything I was offering. So I'm sitting there with a big foolscap, and 2 or 3 in the morning, I'm sliding it under his door, and I knock on the door, and there'd be a big sheet under so-and-so for Holmgren. Just when I used to come home, I'd say to my wife, the best thing that could happen to me was get a couple nights at the hotel just to sleep. So if I'm going to stay at home, please keep kids quiet. I haven't slept.
That's pretty good. You were a little type A.
Very much
back in those days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's why you got out eventually, right?
That's exactly
the whole point.
right.
I mean, you had to get caught up with it.
Yeah.
Any luck?
So 1973 draft, who am I looking for?
What's number 6?
Number 6.
Boston.
Andre Savard.
Huh. Good player.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very good.
I don't think I've ever heard that before.
No.
Forgot.
Most people have there. And
like you said, it's not just a number 1; it's a top 5 or 6.
Top 6.
In this case, that's just that's as good as it gets. Good to have you in, man. Great stuff, great stories, and then we'll chat next week.
Good. Nice to see you.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
Thanks.
Luigi, brought to you by Kemp's.
You're listening to Barrero on the Fan.
Have you heard, Gaardsy, much, if anything, about the this little dust-up between New York Giants players, the linebacker Abdul Carter,
yes,
and the quarterback, your guy Jackson Dart?
I've just seen Jackson Dart. I've just seen Carter's reaction mostly to Jackson Dart introducing President Trump, right?
Yes, I have a little concern. This might be completely unfair to Dart. I have a little concern just on observing him that he's got a little of J.J. McCarthy in him, where he likes the idea and all the spoils of being a quarterback and acting like a quarterback more than being a quarterback, but we'll find out. He's got a good coach now. We'll see. Maybe he just needed...
It might be unfair, but I kind of thought the same thing.
Yeah.
I thought, has he done enough to introduce a president? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, I know you're QB1 and all of that, but like
he's got the fashion glasses.
Yeah, you just started. I don't know if he's done enough to introduce a president.
Does he call himself? Did he call himself by number 2?
I think he's number 6.
But the dust up is he apparently introduced the president during a New York rally. I believe this was Friday. I'm looking at the Florio account. Saturday morning, Carter expresses disapproval on X. Later in the day, Carter declares that all is well and chides those who reasonably reacted. Reasonably is the word that Florio uses to Carter airing out internal laundry externally. He writes, many of the reactions have been predictably hypocritical. They're wagging a finger at Carter for reacting to Dart's unforced error, and they're ignoring the fact that Dart lit the fuse on all of this. This is an old subject we've explored from time to time. Sometimes I'm bored with it because it's so circular, and it's people are so hardened on their opinions on it, and they end up drawing their opinion on the basis of how they feel about the individuals politically speaking. But I would say it's to me it's a bit disingenuous to write they're wagging a finger at Carter for reacting to Dart's unforced error. Well, then, and they're ignoring the fact that Dart lit the fuse on all of this. So isn't that Florio wagging the finger at Dart? I mean,
yes.
We're back to that old issue of, we're in very politically charged times. This isn't business as usual for a million reasons. But do we end up making the decision on whose side we take on the basis of who's getting ripped and who isn't? Are we really at a place now where you're bothered by wagging a finger at Carter? You're saying there's no reason to be upset with him, but there's every reason to be upset with Dart. According to who? I mean, unforced error. He's supposed to check with teammates first, I guess. I don't know. Now, what you ask is a different question, why is he even the guy introducing? I mean, he's got, the truth is he's done not near enough to have any standing, but that's almost a different subject. So I'm left saying we get into this hypocrisy thing, but we're not consistent with it. I don't even think this story is written in consistent fashion. If you're saying you're bothered by anybody lecturing Carter for reacting, but you're not bothered by with your own desire to wag the finger and lecture Dart making a decision he has every right to make if he wants to make it. I don't know what you do with this beyond that. Now, whether then Carter has backed away and acted also disingenuously surprised that, he after raising the subject, that he's upset that people are responding to it and trying to get reaction from other teammates, whatever the case may be. I don't know, but I'm amused by the whole thing because the assumption implied, it's not implied, it's explicit in this thing is, well, Dart screwed up.
Dart made a mistake.
Yes. I have no problem saying that. And then that gets back to, well, why do you feel that way? Because you have strong feelings yourself about the president. I have strong feelings about the president, but it's not illegal what he did. And I would say if it is an issue internally, then he'll have to deal with it one way or the other. But the idea that he should have checked first, well, then could you say that the people who are saying, well, Carter should have checked first too, you're saying they don't have a right to say that. And that again tells me we know which side you are on here. So you're basically saying if somebody is going to introduce the president, he's got explaining to do in 2026 in a way that the guy who's responding to it didn't. He has a right. I mean, I'd say Carter has a right to respond all he wants, but the defense there of, well, how can you get on Carter and not get on Dart? And I'll turn it around and say, how can you get on Dart? It's a free country. And again, if there are ramifications within the team, he'll have to deal with them, right? And my guess is they're not going to be it's going to be pretty simple. If Dart fizzles at quarterback, right, he'll get ripped more.
Exactly right.
If Dart, with Harbaugh there, takes off and is the sign that now the New York Football Giants are going to follow in the footsteps of the New York Knicks and take off and be this proud franchise once again, capable of beating the Vikings 41 donuts, then then I don't think anybody is going to care. How do we decide what lights the fuse and what doesn't?
What's an unforced error?
What's an unforced error? It's just unforced error because you don't think he should be introducing the president, I guess, but who gets to legislate that? So there's a lot of, I would just say there's a lot of hypocrisy to go around on that issue about who's forcing who to do what, an unforced error, and when it's okay to wag a finger and when it is not. Let's do this. Let's take a brief pause here. We'll remind you, we got some good highlights to get to in today's program. We learned something from Louis today. As often as he's been on this show over the decades, I don't think...
It's back-to-back weeks.
It's back-to-back weeks of outstanding historical nuggets, and the one today might be one of the best of all time. I have to tell you. We'll review it if you missed it. We'll give you highlights from Johnny Athletic's appearance and also a brief appearance by Mr. Seifert as well. And we'll prepare you for a Wednesday show when we return.
Bumper to Bumper with Dan Barrero on The Fan.
From the 1-800-ASK
is brought to you by American Pressure, commercial-grade pressure washers since 1975.
It's the Bumper to Bumper show wrap.
Lanch Golden Knights tonight on The Fan, is that correct?
Yes, I believe a 7:30 puck drop.
That's game 4, and Louis thinks it's already over. I tried to get Louis going on the fact that they got the injury excuse built in, the McCarr excuse.
Yeah, and now McKinnon.
And now, that's right. So, fine. We're happy for you. Go ahead. It's amazing. We can talk ourselves out of pretty much anything. Want to thank Johnny Athletic today, joined between 3:30 and 4 o'clock. I guess there's a brewing Kendrick Perkins controversy that goes back to what he said before the Wolves traded Cat away. It's a subject we've explored a million times. We talked about it with Johnny. I want to get back to it beyond our conversation today on tomorrow's show to fill in a couple of gaps on it. Kevin Seifert on the Vikings, who are involved in, what do they call them, OTAs?
Organized
and
team
he's
activities.
Expecting both the quarterbacks to be there, even though I guess they're not there yet, apparently. Can't wait for that. And then Luigi, he dropped another bomb on us. Do we call it a Luigi bomb? I don't know. That's probably too many syllables. A Lou bomb? But the one today was that Ren Blair, the former GM coach of the team, once apparently made a deal in which he forgot that the North Stars getting the number 6 overall pick in that year's draft, 73, was part of the deal. You can't really make up. I mean, that's today, how long does that, if Russo gets a hold of that,
yeah,
you're gone by nightfall, aren't you?
Probably.
It's over.
Yeah.
If it's confirmed. But that was the nugget he dropped on us today.
Well, I also like
that and the fact that they could never, that if they did early practices, Ren was never past the hangover stage to attend them. Mariucci ran the practices if it was like a 10 a.m. practice.
And he knew that they needed rest more than practice, so they wouldn't even practice. He would just blow the whistle.
Just blow the whistle.
They'd just be hanging around, and the whistle would blow.
That's unbelievable. That's all very good.
Maybe one of the Luigi appearances here in the next few weeks, we should see if Tom Reed can come with him.
Yeah, it's not a bad thought. Yeah, you're right.
Because he always references him.
Yeah, that's true.
And he's always like right next to him in some of these stories. Yeah. We should see.
That's not a bad thought.
Kind of a Legends with Lou in studio.
Yeah, we're overdue for some Legends with Louie, that's for sure. That was a good bit. What was that, 2-3 years ago? It's been a while.
It was during the pandemic, mostly.
Yeah, it's pandemic. You're right. Yep. That's true. Tomorrow is Wednesday already because it's a short week. So Kessler's already on the docket for tomorrow, and we're working on maybe adding a piece or two to the Sports Abyss.
You think Kessler will figure out his email tomorrow? Should I double check with him in the morning?
That was weird. Because, in the end, I think he admitted that he couldn't find it, which tells me that he just forgot or something. I don't know.
My guess is he went to send it and actually accidentally hit delete. That's my guess.
Oh.
He just hit the wrong button. Because Kessler never misses an email. We get him every week.
He's pretty
usually
reliable
by noon the day of.
Yeah.
he crafts a very lengthy list that we rarely get to.
There it is again. Popovich addressed team after Game 3
I
loss.
told you,
First
this
one,
is
Game
the
4.
bit. It's like Mitch Johnson's probably like, guys, I'm the coach. I get it, he's Pop. But like you said, does he only talk to him after losses? He's there a lot. He's sitting with Timmy Duncan and Emmanuel Ginobili Deve. It's just amazing.
Yeah, there are a million examples of these sorts of things where the stories only get written if you get a victory. And then it's, here's the easy angle. Here's a speech they got. And you never hear about that same speech after a loss. You just don't. And I'm a yarn spinner as much as the next media jackal. I love a good story.
We love the stories.
There's good angles, and they're fun to write. And you can say, there's no real harm done, one could say. But sometimes they are a little bit too easy.
It's just funny.
And in this case, it's been pretty much, his last round, too. Who'd they play? Who'd the Spurs play last round?
Us.
Yeah, us, that's right.
After we beat him in Game 1,
right.
Popovich apparently watched film with them. It changed everything.
And it was, the headline then was reminding them of the things that got them there. That kind of thing. It's like, okay. Or maybe that was this one. But
that was this one.
It's the same over and over again. It's becoming a little bit too easy. And we all love Pop. Guy's a legend. There's not any question about that. But we never hear those stories under different circumstances. And as you mentioned, it's difficult for me to believe that he's not, that he's only talking to them after losses.
Right? And I know, again, he doesn't probably care about it, but they have a head coach and a coaching staff.
Yes.
Right? Isn't our guy Sean Sweeney on it? St. Paul's own? Corliss Williamson used to be with us.
That's true. Corliss is there now.
They have guys.
A Lou Nanne nuke? A nanny nuke?
A nanny nuke.
If when he just lays one out. What was the one last week? What was the big one last week?
Oh, no.
What was the nanny nuke from last week?
I can't remember. Oh, well, I thought the best one was how he had to find that other GM in Sweden. And so he just
yes.
He just decided what he would do.
He picked the best hotel.
If Lou Nanne was in Sweden, what would I be doing? Best hotel, best restaurant.
And best restaurant. And within 10 minutes, he found him. And the guy's like, how the hell did you find me? I projected.
Because we're all the same.
I mean, I know you're not going to eat at Arby's. I know you're not going to stay at the Motel 6 in whatever city. It's some obscure Canadian town.
Oh, it's so good.
All that made...
what would I do is what he thinks.
Great deal of sense.
And I think I told you this, but that's why people might not know this. Louis gets so angry with me if I don't answer my phone. May's kind of the same way.
He takes it personally.
He'll call, and if I answer, they both
He'll call like 8 different numbers.
Yeah, he'll say, it's a miracle. I can't believe you answered. And I go, I told him that last week. I said, now I know why, because when you've reached a general manager at the best restaurant from the best hotel in Sweden.
That's correct.
Out of nowhere, it's got to be frustrating that Gaardsy won't pick up. That's got to be, you're right. He's like, that's exactly right. So, anyway.
Louis he goes one track on the bit when he wants to find you.
Yeah, and he does. He's relentless. That's why he's Luigi.
That's why he's Luigi. Yeah, that's why he's so good in business, I'm sure. Tomorrow we have to talk about, I meant to get to this today, but we ran out of time, the